Interesting is, I guess, the single word I would use. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary. My family and I left Cayman July 1st, 2016. So, yeah, it's been a whirlwind of a year, to say the least. To put things into context, when it was decided and announced that I would take up the role as the Cayman Islands representative to the UK and EU, the issue of Brexit, as we all know it now, was not even considered. The referendum was not announced. You know, I actually had a plan based around sort of calm and relatively smooth political environment, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, on the 23rd of June, a week before we were due to leave, the UK voted to leave the European Union. As I got there, David Cameron had just resigned or announced his resignation as Prime Minister, and the, if you will, the leadership battle for PM, the Prime Minister in the UK, started within the Conservative Party, and I was just trying to understand how it all worked. And of course, at that time, we had James Duddridge as our minister. Fast forward a year, we've now had 3 ministers since my tenure of 1 year for the overseas territories. Because despite all of that, we've also had a snap election in the UK, whereby, of course, Theresa May, who is now the Prime Minister, thought that the public would actually return an increased majority. In fact, she lost her majority, therefore now she's trying to form a coalition government with the Democratic United Party in Northern Ireland. Yeah, so it's politically in the United Kingdom, it is absolutely amazing the last year. Of course, the intent of my role and also the office is actually to try and create relationships, whether it be political, social, or commercial, and create strategic relationships between the United Kingdom and the Cayman Islands for the benefit of the Cayman Islands. It's obvious to me now that the absence of a representative did not serve the Cayman Islands well. I just want to be totally frank about that. When I was starting to introduce myself to parliamentarians, there was generally no knowledge about the Cayman Islands, or if there was knowledge, it was the fact that we were an overseas territory, British overseas territory, and had a financial services sector that, you know, had not been projected as a positive thing. So there was a lot of work to be done. There is a lot of work to be done around educating people about who we are, what we do. Some people may ask, why is that important? Well, the Cayman Islands, we are a strong country. We are a strong culture. We're a proud people. That's nothing to be ashamed of. But there also needs to be recognition that we are and continue to be a part of the UK as a British overseas territory. And we do have a constitutional relationship with the United Kingdom. And the governor is representative of that as the Queen's representative. So it is important for us to have that relationship, because during good times and bad, we need to be able to effectively communicate with those individuals in the UK about what we're doing, what we're experiencing, if we need help, if we need guidance, you know, what those needs are, but alternatively, how we can be of assistance to the UK. A prime example is, as the UK now is trying to determine and define what Brexit actually means, further than Brexit means Brexit or hard Brexit or soft Brexit, what the actual realities will mean. You know, I am pushing now for the Cayman Islands and the UK to reaffirm the relationship and actually strengthen it, because as we have, yes, we're small, we're 60, 65,000 people, um, and we have a strong economy. In the UK context, there's 60 million. So, you know, we are small, but I think what my strategy is trying to portray how we can have a country, a territory of 60,000 people, over 100 different nationalities, all living in relative peace and harmony with each other in a tax-neutral jurisdiction, that the government does not tax you on what you earn, rather we tax you on what you spend, giving you the option to decide what to do. And as a government and as an economy, we're making it work. The UK, countries in Europe, the United States, for example, the United States is a key example. As a government, they have had to borrow money since 1958 to operate. Now, to put that into context, you know, we felt, again, coming back to our own morals and values, we felt as a country that we were going down the wrong path because we had years of succession of having to borrow for the purpose of running the government. That's a good thing. But put into context now, the United States, the world's strongest economy, has had to do that for almost 70 years. What is key in trying to understand what Brexit means for the Cayman Islands is that the relationship between the Cayman Islands and the UK is unaffected by Brexit. So the issues of our ability to obtain a British passport, that's unaffected, because in fact what we're trying to do now is strengthen the relationship, as I said. Now, as the UK exits the European Union, there's many different, if you will, headline topics of discussion. Immigration is one of those, and how UK citizens and EU citizens are able to travel and live in the respective countries. That's still to be determined. You know, Theresa May just last week offered the European Union that any EU citizen living in the UK for 5 years would automatically be offered, if you will, permanent residence for our, you know, permanent stay without issue. The European Union has not immediately accepted that. Again, it just shows that it's a negotiation, and it's a negotiation that, whilst was triggered, in other words, officially in March, it just started a week ago, and they have a hard window to end those negotiations by March 2019. So there's a lot of work to be done, but as far as Cayman is concerned, our relationship with the UK will remain unchanged in the context of Brexit. So we do have a number of Caymanians that are studying in the UK, as well as Caymanians who are living in the UK. The interesting part about it is in a normal, if you will, diplomatic sort of embassy role, it would be very easy to differentiate. So for example, the Spanish embassy would know what Spanish individuals, Spanish citizens, are living in the UK because they enter the UK as Spanish citizens. The Cayman Islands now, by virtue of us being a British overseas territory, we sometimes enter as Caymanian on our Cayman passports, or sometimes, and majority of the time, we actually enter on our British passport. So we're actually entering and living in the United Kingdom as British citizens. So therefore, the only type of monitoring or register that we can actually do is through voluntary signing up of Caymanians. And we do have close to 200 Caymanians registered, whether they're studying or living. And what we've certainly had to do for the last year in response to issues like terrorism is try with the information and lists that we have to reach out to those individuals who we know are living in an affected area and just ask them to report in as safe. And again, it's just our way of showing that we care, and trying to do our part as a government organization for the Cayman Islands, working in the UK for the purpose of our people. As now I'm ending 1 year, I'm looking at the other, and of course the other, because it's a 3-year term that I asked for and that was given. There's 2 major anniversaries that I think are very important for the Cayman Islands and the UK specifically. And again, it's in the context of trying to further bridge that gap, if you will, of 4,500 miles away. So our coat of arms, which we hold so dearly, and is a symbol of pride, is actually coming up for its Diamond Jubilee, its 60th anniversary, in May of next year. What that means is the Queen officially gave it a stamp of approval, therefore allowing us as, if you will, a new country, having leaving the administration of Jamaica, to show the world that this is who we are. So it's coming, it's its 60th anniversary. I think there's a lot of work to be done around awareness, what that means, what the last 60 years has done. So that's one major anniversary. The second, and similarly important, is the 60th anniversary of our first Constitution, and that is July 1959. So we have 60 years of our coat of arms and 60 years of our Constitution, both being relatively about a year apart, and both are very Caymanian, but also British. So we're going to create programs and awareness, and really try to start more pride, if I can put it that way, about being Caymanian, but also being Caymanian is also being a part of the UK.